You look tired, like my husband before he left. The words were soft, almost accidental, yet they landed like a stone dropped into still water. The man at the cafe window hadn't realized anyone was speaking to him until he felt the silence shift. He looked up from his untouched coffee, eyes shadowed, posture stiff with the kind of exhaustion that sleep could never cure. Outside, rain traced slow paths down the glass, blurring the city into streaks of gray. He offered a polite nod, the reflex of someone trained to acknowledge without inviting conversation. But something in her voice, gentle, not curious, not pitying, made him pause. If you've ever felt unseen in a crowded room, or tired in a way that no rest seems to fix, stay with this story until the end. And if moments like these speak to you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this might be the reminder someone else needs too. She stood on the other side of the small round table, a paper cup warming her hands. She was young, too young to carry the weight she clearly did, dressed simply, her eyes calm but holding a depth that came only from loss. He gestured to the empty chair without thinking. She sat, thanked him quietly, and for a while they listened to the rain together, two strangers sharing the same silence from different lives. He was known to the world as a powerful CEO, a man whose name appeared in business magazines and conference banners. To employees, he was decisive and distant. To investors, reliable. To the press, controlled. But here, in this corner cafe where no one recognized him, he was just a lonely man with tired eyes and a heart that felt permanently jet-lagged from his own life. He had built companies, bought buildings, reshaped markets, and somehow lost himself in the process. She noticed his hands first. They trembled slightly as he lifted the cup. My husband's hands did that, she said gently, not accusing, not dramatic. Right before he walked out. Not because he didn't love us. But because he didn't know how to stay. He swallowed. He hadn't told anyone about the nights he sat alone in penthouse apartments that echoed like empty halls, or how he stared at city lights wondering why success felt so heavy. I'm sorry, he said, though he wasn't sure why. She smiled sadly. People always say that. You don't have to. She took a breath. He died 2 years later. Car accident. We never got the chance to talk again. The rain grew heavier, drumming against the windows. He felt something crack open inside him, something he'd kept sealed behind boardrooms and balance sheets. I don't think I know how to be anything other than tired, he admitted. She nodded, like she'd been expecting that answer. I didn't know how to be anything other than angry for a long time. Angry at him. Angry at the world. Angry at myself. She looked down at her cup. Then one day my son asked why I always looked like I was fighting someone who wasn't there. The image struck him hard. He had no children, no spouse waiting at home. Just assistants, meetings, flights. What did you tell him? That I was learning how to stop, she replied. They talked then, not about business or money or status, but about mornings that felt too quiet, about nights that stretched too long, about the fear of becoming someone unrecognizable even to yourself. She told him about raising her son alone, about working 2 jobs, about the shame she once felt needing help and the strength she found in accepting it. He told her about his father, distant and demanding, about learning early that love came with conditions, about how he'd spent his life trying to earn something no one ever promised. Days passed, then weeks. He found himself returning to the cafe. At the same hour, not knowing whether she'd be there. Sometimes she was. Sometimes she wasn't. On the days she was, they talked. On the days she wasn't, he still felt less alone, as if the place remembered their conversations. But life doesn't pause just because 2 broken people find comfort in each other. Challenges came quietly at first. A lawsuit threatened his company. Investors grew restless. Old habits pulled at him, urging him to disappear into work again. She, too, struggled. Her son fell ill, medical bills piled up, exhaustion crept back into her eyes. One evening, he arrived late to the cafe, shoulders slumped, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. She saw it immediately. You're running again, she said. I don't have a choice, he snapped, then softened. I don't know how to stop without everything falling apart. She leaned forward. Everything that matters doesn't fall apart when you slow down. Only the things that were never meant to hold you together. Her words stayed with him through sleepless nights. For the first time, he made a choice that scared him more than any financial risk. He stepped back. He delegated. He said no. He visited her and her son, brought groceries instead of solutions, listened instead of fixing. It wasn't easy. He felt useless, exposed. But also, human. When her son finally recovered, he watched them laugh together, something warm blooming in his chest. Not ownership. Not rescue. Just connection. She saw him watching and said softly, "You don't look as tired today." He smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in years. Months later, the cafe window reflected two people who had changed. Not healed completely, life doesn't work that way, but awake. She no longer spoke only of grief, she spoke of plans. He no longer spoke only of work, he spoke of meaning. They didn't promise forever. They promised honesty, presence,